Yo, whoa, what is going on YouTube? It's your boy Dan, aka aDrive. But guys, a brand new video today. Today we're talking about some new Mega Evolution possibilities for Pokemon Sword and Shield, focusing on the Johto region, which is of course Generation 2 in Pokemon. Now I did a video like this for the Kanto region, you guys absolutely loved it. So thank you guys for supporting that video, and hopefully you guys are excited about this one as well. Be sure to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below on which Mega you want to see from the Johto region happen, and maybe some ideas that I didn't think of in this video, and also let me know what your thoughts are, of course, on the Pokemon that I selected. I'm a big fan of Mega Evolution, and I do sincerely hope the mechanic returns in full force in Pokemon Sword and Shield. I got my fingers crossed, man. There's been some rumors, some leaks that have kind of pointed towards maybe the fact that we will be getting new Mega Evolutions in Sword and Shield, and we look at some Gen 2 Pokemon that could get some Mega Evolutions and kind of have some new light shed on some old favorites. So in this video, I'm going to break down 10 awesome Pokemon from Generation 2 and the Mega forms that I hope they get. So without further ado, let's jump into the video. Kicking things off, I gotta start with one of my absolute favorite Pokemon of all time, and that is Crobat. Now, I'm a huge Crobat fan. I don't really like Golbat very much, and I know a lot of people don't like Zubat very much, but I love Crobat. It's super fast, it's really cool that it gets Brave Bird, it's a really good offensive flying type Pokemon, and I wanted to come up with a cool Mega idea for Crobat without kind of taking too much away from what Crobat already does, which is pivot around with U-turn, provide hazard removal with Defog, and also provide a pretty hard-hitting Pokemon through just really good attacks like Brave Bird and Cross Poison and things like that. So I made some small changes to Crobat here, and we'll talk about that. So I'm going to keep his typing as Flying Poison. I think that's very fitting. I could see maybe Dark typing being added, but I really like Flying Poison, and his main ability is Infiltrator, which allows him to hit through Reflect and Light Screen and things like that, and substitutes, but I decided to change that up to Poison Touch, and the reason being is I thought it would be a very unique Pokemon to have such a fast pivot type Pokemon with things like U-turn that have the ability to poison on contact. I just thought that was super cool, so I decided to go that route. A little bit different, but maybe Mega Crobat kind of has some super poison kind of coming out of it, and anytime it makes contact with something, it could potentially give him that poison. Maybe make it a badly poison and kind of tweak that ability a little bit, so it's like a toxic poison as opposed to just a regular poison. That could be really cool. One thing I didn't mention though is I'm going to be using a lot of fan art in this video, so be sure to check out the description below to check out all the artists, and be sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you guys are new. I do appreciate your support on these videos. Now, I did a little bit of a stat buff. Generally, Mega Evolutions get about 100 points total added to their stats, and the hidden power, or the HP stat, I'm sorry, hit point stat, usually doesn't get affected. So in this case, I decided to adjust its stats, and I gave him a nice little buff to attack, getting up to 130. Give him a nice little buff to speed up to 150, which is comparable to things like Mega Aerodactyl. It puts it just above Mega Beedrill, and Crobat's already a super fast Pokemon, so I didn't think it needed too much more speed. 150 puts it at a really good speed tier, and I gave him a little bit of bulk and a little bit of special attack. And the reasoning for the special attack is, for those who don't know, Crobat does get the move Nasty Plot, and Nasty Plot is a really cool way to use Crobat as well. You could use Nasty Bat with like Giga Drain and Sludge Bomb and Air Slash, and I wanted to not take away from that as a possibility, but still keep the core focus of what Mega Crobat was going to be, which is a fast flying type Pokemon that gets poison type moves that can poison things on contact and pivot around and just provide team support through U-turns and things like that, give momentum. So I really love this design. Crobat's absolutely one of my favorites, and I would love to see a Mega Crobat moving forward to Pokemon Sword and Shield. If there's one Pokemon from Generation 2 that I definitely feel like needs a Mega Evolution or some sort of kind of enhancement, it is definitely Dunsparce. Dunsparce is a very unique Pokemon that's incredibly rare in Generation 2. You have to find it in the cave at the beginning of the game at a 1% encounter rate or swarms, and it makes it super unique in itself. But I think Dunsparce really needs an evolution or a Mega Evolution. In this case, we're going to make him normal and dragon type. We all saw Drampa, and we thought that maybe Drampa just maybe was going to be its evolution, but that never came to fruition. But that's okay. I do feel like normal Dragon Dunsparce could be really cool. There's some opportunities to maybe make it fairy, or maybe even make it ground, or add some sort of secondary typing. But Dunsparce is a really cool move pool, and we're going to really do something unique with Dunsparce. So his ability is Serene Grace, and I don't feel like we should change that. Serene Grace is what makes Dunsparce unique, or one of the ways it makes it unique, having boosted chances for things to happen, whether it be Body Slam, Paralysis, or maybe Rock Slide or Headbutt Flinches, or any of that stuff. It also has things like Air Slash and Roost, so I really feel like being able to take advantage of those high flinch moves and those high paralysis moves, and maybe even Ancient Power, could really make Dunsparce a unique Pokemon. So I decided to do something very unique with its stats. I buffed it by 33 in 3 different spots, and then +1 elsewhere. Something very different. I've never seen that, but I thought that was kind of cool. So its attack goes up to 103, its special attack goes up to 98, so both of those are pretty formidable. So it could be physically offensive or specially offensive, which kind of adds to the appeal of using Dunsparce. But Dunsparce is all about the flinch, man, and that's really, using that Serene Grace ability is going to be where Dunsparce is going to shine as a Mega Evolution. It gets a buff to speed as well. It goes from being very slow to middle speed tier, which still makes it so there's a lot of things that are going to be able to outspeed it and do a lot of damage to it, but at the same time, you're going to be able to outspeed those walls and the slower type Pokemon a lot easier. It's also going to make it so if you paralyze something, you're still going to be able to outspeed that as well. So some of the faster Pokemon, like we just talked about Mega Crobat, if you paralyze that, you'll still actually be able to outspeed that and flinch it and stuff like that. So it's all about the hacks with Dunsparce, and I feel like it doesn't have the craziest stats that we gave it, but I feel like you have to balance that out and consider the fact that it does have this incredible ability in Serene Grace and a tremendous move pool to back that up that would allow it to not only, you know, annoy opponents, but hacks them to death. And I just feel like that really fits with Dunsparce, and it could be really cool. I love this design too, this Mega Evolution design. There's a couple different Mega Evolutions of Dunsparce that I've seen, like fan art, that make it like glow up into like a crazy dragon and things like that. I felt like this design kind of kept it a little truer to what Dunsparce is. It's more of like a prankster, kind of lucky type of Pokemon that should be really rare and almost like a mythical in a way, as opposed to kind of this big, powerful, overpowering dragon. I kind of wanted to go a different route with it. So really excited. I'd love to see Mega Dunsparce. It's one of those Pokemon that is easily forgotten, but pretty unique and does have some potential in terms of what it could end up being in Pokemon Sword and Shield. Now, if there's one Pokemon that I thought could have some really cool story to it, it's Girafarig. And Girafarig is a normal Psychic type Pokemon that I'm gonna have changed to Dark and Psychic, and we're gonna have it so that tail, that little tiny tail that he kind of looks back on, gets a lot more powerful, and it really shifts kind of what Girafarig does from being a mixed slash special attacker that's relatively weak to being an offensive threat that has the ability Prankster. And I love this idea. So first and foremost, it's got Sap Sipper as its default ability. Sap Sipper allows it to switch into those grass type moves and get an attack boost. So that could be actually strategically planned around when you Mega Evolve it. While it doesn't have a weakness to grass or anything like that, still something that can be taken advantage of. And I decided to, again, swap its stats around and make it more physically offensive, even though it has a really good special move pool. So it does have some good physical attacks. It gets Crunch already, it gets Zen Headbutt, things like that. It gets some support moves like Thunder Wave and Nasty Plot. It gets Baton Pass, Trick Room, stuff like that. But I really felt like Prankster could be really cool for it, allowing it to kind of do things like Thunder Wave and do things like set up or maybe pass around or do whatever. I feel like there's a lot of potential there for using Prankster, and I just felt like maybe the main body part of Girafarig becomes like the Prankster aspect, the Psychic type, and the kind of the tail, which is the more offensive part of it, becomes like the main attacker, and that's why it shifts to a more physical attacking approach here. But I gave him a huge buff to attack, getting up to 125. That's actually pretty significant. He's got some good natural bulk with his defenses. Special defense and defense goes up, and then his speed goes up just ever so slightly. Nothing too crazy. Now, when you make a Mega Evolution, I think it's important to realize not every Mega Evolution is going to be Mega Blaziken or Mega Rayquaza, right? Or Delta Rayquaza. They're just not going to be that strong. This is one of the ones where I feel like it does have some potential in terms of getting those stat buffs. It definitely becomes better than Girafarig was, but it's not going to be like crazy overpowered. There's going to be a niche for it where you can definitely run a cool set with Girafarig and make it kind of a good offensive Pokemon with Dark and Psychic being a nice combination. But obviously that huge bug weakness and U-turn weakness is probably going to slow it down a little bit and make it a little trickier to use. But I like the natural bulk that it gets, and I love just the idea and the concept of that tail kind of becoming its main attacking piece and being like the focal point of Girafarig, shifting it from a normal type to a dark type in that case. So I'd really like to see Mega Girafarig. I love the fact that it's a palindrome, a name that can be read forwards and backwards the same, like race car or mom and dad. I think that's really cool that Girafarig has that going for it. Fun fact about me, my first ever band that I played in, the name of our band was Palindrome, and the first album we ever had was called Hannah. I didn't really know anyone named Hannah, but if you put an H at the end of Hannah, it makes a palindrome. So that's my fun fact for the day. Let's move to the next Mega. Now, there's a handful of Pokemon in Johto that I absolutely love, and this is one of them. I love Ledian. I feel like Ledian has an incredible design. It's very simple looking. It kind of looks like, I think his name is Proto Man or something like that from Mega Man, like the red dude. He kind of looks like that. I just feel like Ledian looks incredible. I've always loved its base design, but obviously its stats definitely leave a little bit to be desired. So I kind of took a lot of fan inspiration from this one, and we are going to make Mega Ledian get Bug and Fighting type. Now, for those who don't know, Ledian does actually get an array of fighting type moves like Drain Punch. It also gets like Counter and Focus Punch and Brick Break and things like that. And it does get elemental punches as well, Ice Punch and Thunder Punch and things like that. So it does have the ability Iron Fist by default, and it has those different punching moves, but it really can't take advantage of them because its attack stat is so incredibly pitiful. Its attack stat is 35. It's one of the lowest finally evolved attack stats in the game, and it makes Mega, or just Ledian in general, pretty bad. But a really easy way to fix that, and this isn't the first time this has been thought of, but giving it pure power or huge power. I opted for pure power because I just thought it fit a little bit better. It's not going to be the strongest thing, but it packs a punch on the inside, and that's going to really make it a lot stronger. Pure power, for those who don't know, doubles your attack stat. So it's not the base, it actually is the attack stat itself. So things like Mega Mawile really benefit from it, Mega Medicham, things like that, they really benefit from it. And by giving Ledian the bump up to 85, that makes it so it's not as powerful as Mega Medicham or Mega Mawile, but it still packs a really big punch, and it can still be used competitively. So I really like that. The bug fighting typing kind of shifts it, gives it stab on those punches, and makes it benefit a little bit more there. So it can use those fighting types and removes that big weakness of being bug and flying. It'll still remain that type when it switches in, but when it Mega Evolves, it kind of drops down and focuses more on like hand-to-hand on-floor combat. Give it a little bit of a buff to its physical defense now that it's got that new typing. Its special defense was already pretty good, so we're going to give that a tiny buff. And then its speed goes up plus 20 to 105, which makes it the fastest of the huge power Pokemon. It would outspeed Mawile. It does outspeed Medicham at that point, and it gives it a good amount of speed that it could be a good pivot Pokemon with U-turn, but it can also hit pretty hard and break over those 100 base speed Pokemon that are so common in the metagame. So I felt like this Mega Ledian was a really cool approach. I love this fan art, by the way. Please, again, show love to the artist in the description, but I'm really a big fan of this fan art, dude. Ledian, I just can't express how much I love the design of just Ledian in general, and I would love to see a Mega Ledian. It's one of those Pokemon that definitely needs a Mega Evolution, and I just feel like there's so much potential if it were to get one. So hopefully, my fingers are crossed that maybe one day. Noctowl is one of the kind of entry-level bird Pokemon that we see across Pokemon, and in the Johto region, Noctowl definitely leaves a bit to be desired, but I'm really excited about this kind of a concept here. So Noctowl, known for being normal and flying type, but having an array of psychic type moves, we're going to shift that over to a psychic type Pokemon. So it's going to be flying and psychic, so it'll have the ability to kind of get stab off those psychic type moves and really benefit from that. And I was thinking of an ability, and I looked through its move pool, and I really love the idea of Compound Eyes, and I love the idea of this design. This design's really cool, and it kind of fits with it, kind of like a little clock theme going on. But Compound Eyes is perfect because it's going to boost its accuracy of its moves by 30%. I was thinking about Nogara, but I felt like that made it too similar to Pidgeot, and I really like Mega Pidgeot, and I just felt like Compound Eyes made more sense. Maybe it's called something different, but Compound Eyes, the same idea, boosting your accuracy up by 30%. That really makes Noctowl have some pretty unique attributes to it. The first thing is it does get access to Hurricane now in Ultra Sun and Moon, so you're gonna have a previously 70 accuracy move get boosted up to 91% accuracy. So Hurricane, tremendous move, still has some drawback on a chance to miss, but you all of a sudden are going to be hitting really hard with those Hurricanes, and you're hitting with a pretty good special attack stat when we talk about that buff. It also has access to Hypnosis, which is a 60 base power move that's going to be bumped up to about 80% accuracy. So you're looking at a Pokemon that now can hit 80% accurate Hypnosis and 90% accurate Hurricanes, and really actually be kind of a threat with those. And then paired with some other things like Psychic and maybe Air Slash, some different potential moves there. I think it might even get U-turn. There's some opportunities for a Mega Noctowl in this kind of vein to actually be effective in the metagame. I gave it a little bit of a buff to its defense. It already has really good HP. Its defense went up a little bit, still on the lacking side, but he's more of a specially kind of focused Pokemon. Special attack skyrockets up to 131. That's going to actually give it a very powerful Hurricane, considering it's going to get stabbed and it's going to have that accuracy boost with Compound Eyes. So it's really effective with that. You could be kind of playing with the idea of Hypnosis and Confusion there. Nice little buff to its special defense, allowing it to take some special hits a little bit better, and then a little bit of a buff to its speed. Not anything too dramatic, but enough that it kind of outspeeds some of the base 80s in the metagame and some of the other stuff that it was previously a little slower than. So generally, this would be more of a bulky, kind of tanky type Pokemon. It's got great special defense. It has the ability to roost things off, which is good. It can put things to sleep. It can pivot around. It can, hit those Hurricanes. And I just feel like this was a really cool way to make Mega Noctowl like way better without making it like overpowered or anything too crazy, and still fit with kind of the design and the lore of what Noctowl really is in general. So I think definitely shifting it to that Psychic typing and then kind of focusing on a way to boost its accuracy was definitely the approach. So I was pretty excited about how this one turned out, and it'd be nice to see. I mean, we saw Pidgeot and Beedrill get some kind of some love with the Mega Evolution, so perhaps a Pokemon like Noctowl or Ledian could actually get some love moving forward. If you know me, you know I love bug-type Pokemon, and I could not leave a Pokemon like Shuckle off this list. I am gonna make a very broken Pokemon right now, and I want you guys to just stick with me and hear me out. So Shuckle is known for having incredible defenses, 230 base on its physical defense and its special defense. Its HP stat is absolutely dreadful. Its ability is sturdy or contrary, and it's a bug rock type Pokemon that's known for setting up stealth rocks and sticky webs, something very unique that it can do. And I decided to make it even more pesky. So we're gonna actually give it Regenerator, and this might become probably the most broken Mega on this list, simply because by giving a Pokemon like Shuckle Regenerator, you're gonna give it a tremendous amount of health. I'm also shifting its typing from Bug Rock to Bug Steel, so he's gonna kind of harden up a little bit there, and that's gonna make it so he only has one weakness, which is to fire. It is a 4 times weakness, but it's very scary nevertheless. But I will mention that by shifting it to Steel type, that means it can no longer be toxic. So pretty interesting stuff there. Maybe this thing's way too OP, but there are Megas that are really, really good, and I like Shuckle, so like, why not? Anyway, so we're gonna bump him up to a nice little attack stat of 60. That's gonna make it so he's just not complete setup fodder. Obviously, base 60 attack is not very formidable, but it's something. Shuckle does get a variety of kind of support moves like knockoff and stuff like that, so you can benefit with that. But generally, you're just gonna have a little bit of an attack buff because I didn't want to give him too much of a buff on its defenses. This Mega Evolution is really about it getting a new typing and a new ability in Regenerator. We're gonna give it a nice bump, 15 to its defenses, nothing too crazy. In fact, actually 230 is already the highest stat, so I'm not sure if it can go higher than that. I mean, they can do whatever they want, it's their game. But give him a nice little buff there, and then a little buff to speed. The reason I gave him the buff to speed is to kind of counteract the fact that now Gyro Ball is going to be a lot stronger. Gyro Ball is going to get speed, it's going to get stab from being steel, and it has a much higher attack stat. So Gyro Ball actually becomes a decent move on Shuckle. So I kind of nerf that in a way by buffing him in other ways, and I kind of felt like that was fair. So he gets a speed boost, which again doesn't help Shuckle at all, but it's kind of a way of nerfing something that was otherwise going to be a lot better. And again, I gave most of his buffs to his attack, which it's not going to be that beneficial anyway. But I could really see Shuckle being a super cool utility type Pokemon with Sticky Web, Stealth Rock, Knockoff, and then maybe Gyro Ball or Toxic. Could be really, really cool to help out a team. Obviously, it's not going to sweep a team under any circumstances, but simultaneously, it could at the very least, provide team support and be a very, very difficult Pokemon to take down defensively. So I really like this idea, and while I do feel like it's probably a little bit overpowered, it's still pretty cool. So I'd love to see a Mega Shuckle in the next game. When we talk about new Mega Evolutions, I really like the idea of incorporating new types that we've never seen before, and Sunflora is one of those Pokemon that I think has the potential to become Grass and Fire type above a lot of other Pokemon. So Grass and Fire is a combination we haven't seen before. As much as I'm holding out for that Jalapeno Pepper in Sword and Shield, I can hope that Sunflora here could maybe get a Grass and Fire Mega Evolution. Now, its current ability is Solar Power, so it gets boosted in the sun, but we're going to shift that up and actually give it Drought, so it's going to get Sun boosted. We've seen a couple of different Pokemon get Drought upon Mega Evolution, and there's a couple of Pokemon that get, Weather without being Megas, so I don't think that's necessarily too OP. I will say Sunflora doesn't really have a wide range of Fire-type moves, but I think that there's ways to kind of integrate that into its moveset. Simply by giving it Weather Ball alone would actually make a pretty big difference. So its HP and attack doesn't really do much. Its defense is going to get a tiny buff up to 75. It's pretty weak in general. Like, Sunflora is actually, it's pretty weak on the physical side, but it's very good on the special side. So we're going to give it a massive special attack buff, and it gives me some kind of vibes like Camerupt in a way. Camerupt is a really, really offensive Pokemon. It has incredible stats on the special attacking side and the physical attacking side, and Sheer Force makes it very strong, but it's just so slow, so it really struggles with that. But at least Sunflora would have a better typing in Grass and Fire, being able to be neutral to things like ground and water and stuff like that, so it actually could be pretty useful there. It actually removes a lot of the weaknesses that it might have already had if you look at one of the type or the other type. But this massive special attack buff, coupled with the fact that it's going to have Drought, you could have some really powerful Weather Balls coming off this. You could have some really powerful Solar Beams, but obviously it's balanced out by the fact that its physical defense definitely is lacking, and its speed is very, very low as well. So outside of Trick Room, Sunflora would be a very niche Pokemon, but in Trick Room could be devastating, especially when paired up with a Chlorophyll Sweeper, or just in general paired with another Pokemon that benefits from the sun or weather. So I really felt like this was a cool idea, and if there was ever a Pokemon that could be Grass and Fire, I definitely feel like Sunflora could fit that bill, and it would be nice to see Sunflora get some love because it's a little sunflower, dude, and everyone loves a little sunflower. I mean, am I right or am I right? Now, I knew if I didn't put the starter Pokemon in this countdown, people would riot. So we're gonna jump into the starters now. I've got MEGAFERALIGATR, and if there's ever a Mega Evolution that needs to turn Dragon, it is Feraligatr, man. He already gets a bunch of Dragon-type moves like Dragon Dance, and I think he gets Outrage and all sorts of stuff. So giving him that Dragon typing just makes a lot of sense. His ability as Sheer Force is already tremendous, so I don't think that needs to change at all. But we're gonna give him some pretty significant stat buffs here. And I feel like, aside from maybe Shuckle, this might be the most broken Pokemon in the countdown. Just because I feel like a Dragon Dancing MEGAFERALIGATR would be really, really powerful. Like, Mega Garchomp's insanely good, but it has that huge height weakness and it gets a little slower. So I made this Feraligatr a little bit slower as well. It's going to slow itself down, so its Dragon Dances are going to be a little less effective. It does still have agility, I think, though, if I'm not mistaken, and it can run things like Aqua Jet and stuff, so Swords Dance, Aqua Jet. It's going to be really strong regardless. It's got a pretty good defense stat. We're going to buff that. We're going to buff its special attack as well, because Sheer Force boosted things like Ice Beam and stuff can actually be effective as a mixed wall breaker, and I don't feel like Feraligatr should lose that. Like, being able to attack on the special side is something that I really value on MEGAFERALIGATR, or just Feraligatr in general, so I think that could be really cool for tech. And then a nice little buff to its special defense. I do think this thing would be a little too OP though, in just the fact that Water Dragon is a tremendous typing, really only having weaknesses to Fairy and Dragon pretty much. So because of that, I feel like MEGAFERALIGATR alone would be really good. It can set up, and if it gets up a Swords Dance and starts Aqua Jetting and stuff, it's gonna just be too powerful, and maybe a Dragon Dance. But nevertheless, I feel like hopefully that speed kind of mitigates his power, and you know, MEGAFERALIGATR or Feraligatr in general just has such a good move pool that it would be very difficult. But it would take a Pokemon that previously wasn't very good, or just, I guess, average, to being very, very good, like we see with like Blaziken and stuff like that. Another Pokemon that got a Mega Evolution, just became absolutely devastating in the competitive format. So it'd be nice to see that with Feraligatr, because I think a lot of people would like to see Feraligatr get a lot better, and I personally would as well. I love Meganium, and I would say that Chikorita is my favorite of the 3 starters in the Johto region, so we gotta get some Mega Meganium action here. Mega Meganium, I'm gonna change to Grass and Fairy typing, and we're gonna actually give it the multi-scale ability, or an ability that does something similar, where if it's at full health, it actually takes less damage from super effective attacks. I thought that was pretty cool. Now, Meganium is a Pokemon that is known for its natural bulk and decent attack stats, but generally it doesn't have much of a place in the metagame right now, because there's other Grass Pokemon that do what it does better. But we're gonna give it that Fairy typing, which will help it be a little bit more offensive. It's going to give it a little bit more prowess in terms of being able to hit things better, because Grass offensively is pretty bad in general, and it's got some good recovery options too. So when you look at Meganium and you factor in the fact that it has Leech Seed and it can have Synthesis, you throw some things like Dazzling Gleam or Moonblast into the mix, and then you throw things like Giga Drain, it gets Earthquake, you can run Screens. There's a lot of opportunities there for team support and just being a tanky Pokemon in general, and those are Pokemon that I generally like. So we're going to give a nice little buff to his attack and his special attack. Special attack stats still going to be higher, but both of them are formidable. Generally, you'll probably want to use it on the special side. It's got really good defenses. We're going to buff those up to 130, so it's going to become a really, really tanky Pokemon with a pretty good typing. Grass and Fairy's not bad. Has that crippling poison weakness, but overall is a pretty good typing. And then its speed is actually going to go down. That kind of evolution there actually slows him down a little bit and gives a little bit more breathing room to enhance his other stats. And again, I was trying to think of a cool ability, and I really do like the idea of a multi-scale type ability where if it's at full health, it's going to take less damage from stuff, especially with a Pokemon that can really recover health relatively well by getting things like Synthesis and getting things like Leech Seed, as I mentioned before. One thing I didn't mention with Sunflora actually going back is by giving it Drought with Synthesis, that's really cool. It actually can recover a lot of its health back, but I'd love to see a Meganium kind of get some more love. We've seen other starter evolutions get Megas. Why not Meganium? I think it's definitely a possibility. Would this be broken? Absolutely not. It would definitely be solid, but it wouldn't be anything too crazy. And I think it could be a decent Pokemon and competitive. And give us a Grass Fairy that's not Bulu or Whimsicott, because that would be nice too. And to finish off our countdown here, I've got Mega Typhlosion, an absolute fan favorite. I've seen a couple different fan games use Typhlosion and have it get a Mega Evolution, whether it be an Electric type or a Rock type or a Ground type. And I'm going to say he's going to actually turn into a Fire and Rock type, 2 of the best attacking types in the game. Now, the reasoning there is Typhlosion is the Volcano Pokemon, and Volcanoes are basically Fire and Rock, right? So we're going to just assume that some of his flames are going to get hardened over because it's so hot or whatever, and he's going to turn into part Rock type. I'm going to give him the Solid Rock ability, which is going to reduce the effectiveness of super effective attacks. I think that allows it to take a little bit hits a little bit better. I don't know if this is the best approach for Mega Typhlosion. I definitely feel like Typhlosion could be stronger if I went a different route, but I didn't want him to be too strong, I guess. So Fire Rock, really good offensive combination. He's going to get a buff to his attack, a buff to his special attack, even them out. That allows him to use moves like Rock Slide and stuff, Earthquake, things like that a little bit more effectively on the physical side, benefiting from that Rock and Fire typing, but also still being able to hit pretty hard on the special side with things like Fire Blast and stuff. I'm a big fan of mixed attackers. I think that having Pokemon that can attack on both sides effectively is really cool competitively because it allows you to take down, you know, different defensive walls, special defensive walls, etc. more effectively. So that's kind of the route I went. His defenses are going to stay the same. His special defense get a little buff, and his speed goes up to 120, which actually puts it above the non-Scarf metagame, the majority of it. A lot of Megas are still going to be faster, but considering the fact that Fire and Rock is just such a good typing together, and the fact that this Pokemon is going to be able to survive pretty weak special effective moves, I mean, it's got a big weakness to ground now, a big weakness to water, but aside from those, like, anything else is not going to want to take hits coming off these pretty buffed attack and special attack stats. Kind of another approach you could go with like a Typhlosion is just buff its special attack to some crazy level and just let it fire off eruptions or something like that, you know what I mean? Like, you could easily do that because that's kind of its signature, is it has eruption with choice scarf or whatever. So just buff its special attack and its speed all the way up, give it like adaptability or something, and then you know, and just fire off you know, eruptions like crazy or something like that. But I kind of went a different approach with it and gave it that rock typing, which again can be a bit of a hindrance, but still pretty cool. So that's gonna round out our 10 Pokemon in the Johto region that I love to see get Mega Evolutions moving forward. I'm really hopeful that Pokemon Sword and Shield is gonna introduce Mega Evolutions again and give some light to some of these Pokemon in the past that maybe have been forgotten or aren't used as much. It's definitely one of my biggest hopes for the new game. I'm gonna keep making these videos and I hope you guys enjoy them. Hit that like button down below, subscribe if you guys are new. My name is Dan, I also go by aDrive, and I will catch you guys next time. Peace.